YouTube video so I can tweet it?
Uh, this is always the most inconvenient part.
Yeah, you get used to it.
Yeah, I find Google Plus to be very confusing.
I'm not a big fan of it myself, but for now, it's how I do my streams. But I might switch it to Skype someday. Once I
Yeah,
get the entire, once I get OBS all figured out, um, and get like a nice layout and everything.
yeah,
Might
I
switch
don't
to Skype.
really get Google Plus all that well. Hold on. Okay, here you go. I should probably send that to you through Skype. That would be more. I mean, through Twitter. That would be more convenient.
That's fine.
Did you get it?
Yes, I got it. It's all fine. So, what do you want to talk about?
We could talk about religion if you want, or we could talk about. I saw your recent hangout with Nick and Sargon with Dr. Ranamacam, and you were talking about a new name for feminist. Well, you were talking about humanist. Dr. Ranamacam and Sargon were talking about whether people should become themselves humanists or MRA, and you were talking about how you don't need MRA in the Middle East, which is actually a patriarchy.
Yeah, and here we don't really like. Okay, we don't really need an MRA movement here because men pretty much hold all the rights within the family, within legislation, within the government. Quite literally, like there are some positions that are not open for women by law. So an MRA wouldn't really do much in here. Like maybe they would have a say when it comes to circumcision rights, but that's again a freedom of religion kind of thing. So we need to get one thing at a time. We don't have the freedom of religion figured out yet. So once we get that, maybe an MRA movement would have a say when it comes to stuff like that. But if I was an advocate for MRAs here, I wouldn't try to go that far. Because yeah, we need more of a feminist movement. We need to have women be liberated, especially in Saudi Arabia. Women can't drive, women can't vote, women can't get a divorce, women can't get out of a marriage. Like if the father wants to give their daughter for marriage, the daughter can, in some cases, just get married by force without having any say in it. So yeah, an MRA would just look silly there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see exactly what you mean. This would be, where you live, it would be a good place to be a feminist, I would guess. Not the radical, crazy, dirt away feminist, but where you live, you would actually need feminism.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a patriarchy. They hold an annual women's rights council here. Well, not here in Saudi Arabia, where a bunch of people from government and stuff they gather and they talk about stuff related to women's rights. And out of the 150 delegates that show up, none of them are women. Zero. They're all just men. And I'm like, okay, you talk about women's rights. Can you have like the women represent themselves at least? At least have some women for a show. I mean, come on. You get like the pictures of the newspapers and stuff, and you're like, so where are the women? They're nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I think that where you are from, you actually need feminism where you're from. But here in America, it seems like we need the men's rights movements. We actually need the MRA here because of how poorly men get treated. Like the divorce rates favors women, and women are favored in sentencing. Like women are more likely to get a reduced sentence over a man.
Well, in my opinion, any movement that concerns itself with rights of people, the rights of humans, it's just human rights in general, is more than welcome. The feminist movement in the US have lost its footing because they're not focusing on the actual issues that women are facing. Women are facing issues like, in some areas, you have catcalling in the street that increases it to a harassing kind of thing. And if you know, Liz Reptile is always talking about that. She's facing that in her personal life. Um, okay, you have like abortion rights that need to be talked about in some cases, and you have the radical religious rights that is pushing against that. So yes, you need the feminist movement to keep pushing that front. Like, yeah, abortion is a right, and let's keep it that way. Um, so yeah, those rights are needed in the U.S., and I think there's still a lot of talks that need to be done when it comes to that. Unfortunately, the feminist movement in the US are more busy printing t-shirts and talking about mansplaining and manspreading, and that's why they lost the legitimacy, because they lost focus on the actual issues and they're just talking about the silliest things. So now when you hear a feminist bring up an actual issue, most people just roll their eyes. They're like, oh god, it's the feminist again. They're more concerned about female butts in video games than actual issues that happen in the streets. And when it comes to rape, yeah, I know that rape is on the decrease, but rape being one of those cases that are so hard to prosecute, there should be a talk about it. There should be a discussion being made, because right now it's hard to prove a positive when it comes to rape. But I'm not saying that, yeah, you should just assume guilt just because someone is accused of rape. But there needs to be a talk on how do you prosecute this? How do we prove it? If it happened, how do we actually prove it? I'm not in the camp of let's just believe the accuser no matter what. But I can say that, yeah, maybe right now we have a problem, because even if a rape happens, it's kind of hard to prove it. So what do? I don't know. Maybe we need to change the societal kind of view of a rape victim, because most women are so afraid of coming out as victims. Maybe we just need to embrace them better and go like, hey, you need to report it right away. Because if you report it right away, it's a lot easier for the police to conduct an investigation. But most of them come out like months and months, sometimes even years later, when it's almost impossible to prove anything. But that's a talk that they should be focusing on. But right now, when they talk about it, they just want to launch a lynch mob and believe the accuser no matter what. And that's not the way they should tackle it, because that I believe that, you know, presumption of innocence should always be there. You know what I mean? But that's not how it's being made, or that's not how it's being done by feminists. So even with that front, they kind of lost the talk because they're losing their mind.
Yeah, I believe that we should withhold judgment until we have more information. Like, I do think that if you're friends with the female, you should believe her because that's your friend. But I mean, when it comes to society at large, I think that people should withhold judgments, avoid having an opinion until more evidence comes out. Don't trust people either side. Trust evidence, because like there are times when feminists do bring up good, valid points, but I do think that those gets ignored and dismissed because I don't see anti-feminists actually talk about the good points feminists make. It's just go like, oh, you're a feminist, I don't want to hear you. But I think that the feminist that does has the most respect is Christina Hoff Sommers because she's more rational and she isn't all crazy man spreading, mansplaining, and all that crazy nonsense. But for me, I just think that people should avoid having an opinion, and that goes for the male too. I don't think he should go. I think the man is innocent. I mean, we shouldn't go and think the man is innocent with no evidence. You shouldn't go, oh, the woman is automatically a liar. I just believe until evidence show itself to just have, just to stay out of it and have no opinion unless you know either of them personally.
Yeah, I am the same camp. Like, yeah, let's just have more evidence out there and let's believe it. But especially when it comes to rape cases, they're very, very hard to prosecute and very hard to prove. Especially um, when it comes to like date rapes, when it comes to date rapes, when the woman is drugged and she doesn't report the rape until way later when the drug is out of her system, then how the hell are you going to prove anything? The guy could just be like, well, I took the girl out and we went to her place and it was all consensual. It's going to be like he said, she said. So what they need to advocate for instead of going after the rape accusee and go like, yeah, you're just accused of rape. That means you're guilty by just the accusation itself. I think what they should go for is encourage women who are victims of actual rape to report it right away. Like you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do, you report the rape. That will give the police a much bigger chance of catching actual rapists rather than waiting for a while and then reporting it. And I know that it's a very dramatic thing to go through. Like it's not easy to come out and say, hey, I was a victim of rape. I know that it's not easy, but if you wait, then you're pretty much letting the rapist get away with it. So that's what they need to advocate for. And I think they have the strength and the numbers to actually push such an agenda through. And most women would believe them and would follow them with that. But unfortunately, they're not going with it the right way. They just want to like believe the accuser no matter what. And that's just not how it's done.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that the victim should just go to the police right away. That was my mistake. When I was in high school, I was sexually assaulted, and I should have gone to the police right away with the sexual assaults. But I was just emotionally distraught. I was in a lot of pain. I was a lot of hurts, and I didn't go to the police until like 1 week later, 2 weeks later. And no matter how consistent I was, they were like, there's nothing we could really do about it now. That's also that they can't really do anything because I waited too long. And they told me that the best advice that they have for me is to come to them right away. Don't wait, just go to them.
Yeah, and okay, I don't want to like revisit that assault or anything, but back at the time, did you have any feminists around that were encouraging you to go ahead and report it right away?
No, no, I was terribly bullied back in high school. So I mostly spent most of my time isolated and alone.
Hmm. Well, I'm sorry that happened to you, but yeah, I guess what we can do right now is, like I said, advocate for, when you get raped, you have to get the police involved as soon as possible. Otherwise, there won't be anything they can do. Like, just like what happened to you. Like, what can they do?
Yeah, but for me, what happened to me was a little bit different because for me it wasn't even rape, it was assault. There was no penetration at all
Yeah,
whatsoever.
but still, if you had any bruises or something, they can just go with that somewhere.
Uh,
They can, like, even like when it comes to investigating people, they can trace back where they've been and everything a lot easier when it's so recent.
but he didn't lay his hand on me. He had his fist to my face, like he had his fist very close to my face, and he started making lots of threats at me. And the police said that the best that they could do is sexual assaults because assaults does cover threats in my state. Like in my state,
Mhm.
if a person even does threats along, if it's threats, that is still considered to be assault mistakes, even if the person doesn't actually strike you. But again, you know, there wasn't really. I mean, because assaults, that's really hard to prove. Really, really hard to prove. I mean, it's not like rape. Rape is easier to prove than assaults because with rape, the person would probably leave you bruises, or the person probably, but with assaults, that is much, much harder to prove.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen, like, when they wanted to introduce it into smartphones and apps that help women not get raped, they were like, "Hey, let's make a consent app," and there are plenty of them on the App Store now. Which is kind of silly. Why can't they invent something that's voice activated, and get, like, start recording the surrounding of the phone? That would be helpful like hell. Like, you have your phone on your pocket or in your purse, and you could just like have a phrase you could say, and it's a phrase that you could say like at any time. And if the assaultant is not really aware of it, it could just record the whole thing. So even if there is something happening, it could record it. There you go. You have evidence of something. But I haven't seen them introduce anything like that. Instead, they're more worried about having people sign a virtual consent document on a phone, because yeah, that's very romantic. Like, yeah, if I pick up a girl from a bar or something and we're just like making out on a couch, yeah, I'm gonna just like break the kissing and go like, hey, let's just stop, I have this app on my phone, we have to consent to this. Like, that's not how humans interact.
Yeah, the recording idea is a much better idea, or maybe have 911 on speed dial, perhaps.
Yeah, but most of the time you won't be able to reach your phone. um I don't know, like maybe, like you said, a 911 activate with a something with a voice command, and you just call 911 and they're going to hear what's happening and maybe show up at your house. Maybe they can trace your phone or something. I don't know what capabilities 911 have over there, but yeah, that's an idea as well. But like I said,
Actually, that's an amazing idea. I like that idea of yours. A 911 voice command, like maybe your phone could react to the word, like, I don't know, banana, or you could like a person could give the phone a code word, so that's the rapist or assaulter has no idea what's going on, and that's the way that the police could just hear everything and perhaps rush over.
yeah, I mean, and you know that they have the capabilities to develop something like that, and they could study it and just make it even better. But no, No, they're focusing, like, when it comes to the rape problems right now, when it comes to the rape investigations and whatnot, they know that rape is very hard to prove. So what do? They just want to go, like, let go of the entire due process and just believe the accuser no matter what. And that kind of pisses me off because I can relate when it comes to rape victims. And I wish there was ways for me to help them, and they should be the ones helping them, but they're doing it the wrong way. And right now it comes to the point where even people who are outside the feminist movement, when they try to advocate for anything to solve the rape problems, people will just get a knee-jerk reaction out of it, like, oh my god, another person is talking about rape, just stop already. Because they just throw in the entire conversation. Everybody's just tired of hearing their conversation.
Yeah, feminism is very self-destructive. It does a lot more harm than good. I mean, a consent form is not romantic at all, and it's not how romance works at all. There's nonverbal communication. It's just basically, two people lean forward to kiss each other, and they just, feel their way through. Nobody just sits there and just get out a pen and paper to make a person sign consent form, because after all that, you're no longer going to be in the mood.
Yeah, I don't really know if most of these guys get even laid. Like, seriously, like, no, who does that? Like, have you seen the videos that I think TLDR was doing these videos about consent, and there were like two people making out, and at every step, like, the guy was taking off the girl's shirt and he's like, can I do this? Can I kiss your neck? Can I kiss your ear? Can I? And they were pretty much like taking their clothes off, and at every step he's like, can I do this? Can I do that? If I did that to my girlfriend, she'd kick me out of bed. She would literally just kick me out of the bed, like, get out of here. This is not gonna work.
Yeah, I saw that video. I love Tildir. I mean, Tildir here, he is I found the Amazing Ideas first, but the Amazing Ideas is more light comedy, whereas Tildir is the more analytical one, and he is the second anti-feminist I found, and he is so meticulous and analytical. I love him.
Yeah, I do watch TLD a lot. I don't watch his streams. Like, he goes into, like, sometimes he does streams where he researches stuff. And unfortunately, right now, I don't have the time to watch everything that I would like to watch. Like, YouTube is getting quite busy with a lot of people that I like. I haven't watched The Amazing Atheist, for example, for quite a while. Like, I don't have the 2 hours and a half time just to sit here and watch his streams with the drunken peasants, even though I enjoy them a lot. Like, it's funny, it's nice, but yeah, unfortunately, there's no time anymore. Like, I'm still working on my YouTube channel. I'm working on a documentary that I'm gonna record. It might be ready in a couple of months if I'm lucky. I'm also looking for a job, and I have some real life, some resemblance of real life. So it's yeah, I just can't watch everything. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, I saw your interesting hangout with Nick and whatnot, where you're talking about Dark Matter 2525, and you're talking about how you have an intelligent man, and he was raised with two loving parents that constantly talk about religion, and then the community is talking about it, and then it has like institutions, and it's like, man, I love that video by Dark Matter 2525. I was surprised that you watched him too. Like, Dark Matter 2525, he is very good. He's one of my he is one of my most favorite atheist YouTubers.
Oh yeah, Dark Matter is one of the few people that actually, can talk to Christians because he presents their point of view. No, most atheist YouTubers, they just dismiss their point of view. Like, okay, God doesn't exist. He's not there. There are no angels. But no, when it comes to Dark Matter 2525, he has a representation of God. and God pretty much is the God of the Bible. So you have their point of view over there, and he dismisses it right away with the presence of God. You know, he makes it in a way where it's so effective, rather than having someone shout on a webcam. Like, when you're a religious person, then you want at least your point of view to be considered. You can't just have someone shout at the screen and go like, "No, you're an idiot because you're a Christian." I mean, okay, if you want to go ahead and do it, go ahead and do it. It's your freedom of speech, but you're not really reaching a lot of people that way.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. More people are going to be turned off than actually listen to a person who's saying, "You're an idiot, you're a dumbass, you're a dumb, stupid motherfucker because you're a Christian." You know, like, because way back, atheists mostly just were out to pawn Christians, just like, "Hey, watch me make this video where I totally own this Christian, or let me show you the most crazy, stupidest Christian alive." And Christians are not going to watch that. If they do, they're just going to view atheists as mean, rude harassers. Whereas Dark Matter 2525 is more polite with it, and he actually demonstrates their view. You know, like their video, they get to see one character, you know, represents them, and one character represents the atheist, and they have a discussion, and he just, you know, goes through the process where people could actually get the visual of what's wrong with their idea.
Yeah, the thing is, when you're in a cult, and a religion is basically like a huge cult, a cult that has more than 1,000 members, and it becomes a religion automatically. So yes, I would still call it for what it is. It's a cult. You tend to avoid interacting or watching people that you disagree with because you put yourself in a bubble. In religious teachings, when it comes to Christianity, the Hinduism or Islam or whatever, they discourage their followers from even listening to dissenters and atheists or whatever. So don't expect a lot of Christians to be watching in the first place. And what they're going to show them as a persona of the atheist, or a persona of anyone who's against you, they'll look for those vitriolic people, you know, the ones that shout at cameras and go like, "Ah, you're an idiot because you're a Christian." They'll have those videos and show them to their followers and go like, "This is an example of an atheist. All atheists are like that." And because a cult is basically a collective, or they believe in collectivism a little bit more than others, I haven't seen a cult that believes in individualism, to be honest. Like, I just couldn't. Like, they all, okay, it's a collective of heathens, a collective of rapists, a collective of sinners. They all treat people as collectives. So when it comes to atheists as well, it'll be easy to paint them as a collective. And I'm not saying that, yeah, just don't be rude to people. That's your freedom of speech. Do whatever you want. But if you're trying to change minds, beware that you're not changing anyone's mind by doing that. You're actually making the conversation a little bit harder. Maybe some of those atheists don't even want a conversation. They're just sick and tired of the conversation, and they just want to destroy it. That's your prerogative. Go ahead and do it. But I don't really agree with you.
Yes, exactly why I wasn't too surprised that there was a movie out there that was supposed to represent atheists called God's Not Dead, where the atheist in the movie God's Not Dead was totally evil. I mean, I didn't watch it at all. I avoid watching the movie, but my atheist friends talked about the movie because they went to see it, and I've seen other atheists talk about the movie, but about how the atheist portrayal is mean and evil and horrible. But when you go to YouTube, you see so many atheist videos where they're out to pawn Christians and let everybody know how dumb and stupid the Christian is. So I mean, I'm not really all that shocked or surprised because, you know, the atheists are being abrasive and vitriolic. And if you want to be perceived in a positive light, you should still, make your videos entertaining, but is being abrasive the only way you know how to be entertaining?
Well, I do like the approach of Christopher Hitchens. He is to the point. He's not a nice person at all. I mean, some people might call him vitriolic, but at least he speaks with authority. He speaks with evidence, and he is very knowledgeable on the topics that he talks about. Um, but atheism is becoming more and more of a trend. Like, I'm just an atheist because it's cool, kind of people. And they haven't read any of the scientific books or scientific papers. They have no way to back themselves with evidence. They go like, science approves it. So what science? Okay, there's nothing there. It's all right. Okay, if you don't want to read into the topic, then don't discuss it. It's like when a certain Gigi Revolt's person went online on a debate about Catholicism, about Catholic Christians. He's a Catholic, and he wanted to debate religion. And the first thing he said on the debate was, "I never read the Bible." And I was like, "Then what the fuck are you going to debate?" People just love to debate by shouting at one another, and they have no idea what they're debating, and that's kind of sad. Like, what the fuck are you doing? It's not about gotcha moments. It's not about just winning a word game here. You have to present your evidence. You have to present your ideas there. But most people, I would say the vast majority of people from both sides, don't really know how to do that. And I'm not defending religion at all, because I think religion doesn't even have a foot to stand on. But at least be knowledgeable on your topic, on your source material, before you jump into the debate sphere. And I see more and more atheists right now, or like especially the new atheist YouTubers, fall into that trap. They just mock and make fun of stuff, and they have no idea what the scientific community is saying. They have no evidence to back their arguments up. They just rely on science to present their evidence, and that's it.
Yeah, to me, I believe that it's better to teach people how to think than to tell people what to think, because what amazes me is how many atheists will make fun of Christians, but then they are feminists. There are so many feminists in the atheist community, and there are race realists, where it's kind of like scientific racism, where they're trying to use debunked, I mean, books that have been debunked multiple times to justify racism. And it's amazing how they are really leaving one cult for another, which is why I think, oh my goodness, Christians are so stupid. It's not really an argument. It's just you may get people to leave the Christian community, but it's kind of like leaving Christianity just to join the cult of race realism or white nationalism or feminism, where you're just a feminist. You're like, we don't believe in a patriarchy and believe America's red culture. It's not like they really just left one cult for another cult. There probably would have been better ways to convince them out of Christianity that wouldn't have them hop on board another cult. Like, how about just target brainwashing? What about targeting signs that you're in a cult, like an us versus them mentality? If you have an us versus them mentality, then you're in a cult. If you cannot challenge your own points of view, if your points of view is sacrosanct, you're most likely in a cult.
Yeah, I'm more against that kind of vitriolic. Like, yeah, when it's us against them, or when it becomes a superiority kind of complex. Like right now, a lot of atheists feel superior to others. Like, yeah, we shall just, we're right and you're wrong, kind of thing. It's all right. Okay, some people believe in bullshit. Some people believe in Santa Claus. Some people believe in the Tooth Fairy. So what? Am I going to go after them too? Some people believe that Twilight is a good movie. Am I going to just ostracize them from the movie watching community? Like, yeah, that movie is objectively bad, but some people believe that it's good. Some people like it. So I'm of the camp, like, live and let live. And if you want to have a discussion, if you want to have some battles, then yeah, there are some issues that the atheist community or the secular community in the West need to be focusing on, which are, religious remnants, or just religious remnants in legislation here and there. They need to look into politics and changing some laws that favor Christians or religion over atheism and secularism. That's a fight that's worthy to go after, and you to keep on fighting. But to keep trying to convince Christians, I think we already did that, and we've been doing that for more than 20 years. If a Christian wants to do a research about their religion, there is more than enough material out there. If you want to go ahead and do reply videos to some idiots like Ken Ham, for example, that goes like, the banana is the proof of God. Yeah, go ahead, because those people are con artists. Expose them for what they are. But to go after Christianity in general, the way I would say some YouTube atheists are doing, it's doing more damage to the conversation than good. So just some moderation here and there. That would be helpful.
Yeah, because this is going to say some big cliche, but not all Christians are like that. Not all Christians are bad people. There are different branches and different sects of Christianity.
I know a bunch of Christians that believe in evolution. They believe in the Big Bang. And they think of Christianity as just, they want a relationship with a God, whether it's the God of the Bible or whatever. And they believe that there is some sort of like a Holy Spirit somewhere. There is a divine being somewhere, and they just seek it. And it provides them with some comfort. And you know what? If they don't deny the science, then they're not doing really any damage. It's just something personal to them. And I'm okay with that. Like, go ahead. I don't really care. I don't really need to have a connection with a God because I don't believe in a God. But if they want to believe in such a thing and they're not denying the science, then they really are doing no harm at all. Go ahead.
Yeah, to me, if a person is a Christian and they're nice to me, then I'll be nice right back. I do have some Christian friends, so it's kind of like, why be mean to a person who's nice to you? And there are, like you said, Christians who believe in evolution and Christians who believe in a Big Bang. You were able to catch that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I caught that.
Yeah, because it's thundering and lightning over here. I don't know if you could hear the thunder and the lightning, though.
Oh, I heard it. It hardly ever rains in here. Yeah, I miss having rain. I miss having like rain and thunderstorms and stuff. Living in Dubai is kind of boring. It's warm all over the year. Like the coldest it gets is like 15 degrees Celsius, which is still warm.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're getting off topic.
Yeah. Last week you told me you wanted to talk to me about Brussels and you wanted to let people know your take on it.
Yeah, the Brussels attack. I don't really remember what you and Nick were talking about that I wanted to comment on. But when it comes to Brussels and people's reaction in the media and in social media in general, everyone felt so surprised that, oh my God, look at what happened in Brussels. And what really is weird for me is people just get surprised by these attacks. They're like, oh my God, we're facing a terrorist problem in the West right now. We're facing a terrorist problem in Europe. And I'm like, well, it's ISIS has been there for almost 10 years now. It's getting closer and closer to 10 years. And it's no, actually no, it's is it 5 years? I don't know. I lost track of time. But yeah, it's been increasing for a while. Al Qaeda was there for quite a while as well, and they've been conducting terrorist attacks all over the Arab world. Basically, Brussels, they called it a tragedy and they called it a terrorist attack, and it's a day of sadness. And in the Middle East, we call that a Tuesday. We get that all the time. And if you have like an open border kind of policy where you get people just flooding in, then of course the problem is going to spread. And it's been spreading for quite a while. At first, it was contained in little areas in Iraq and Syria. Well, Syria is more recent than Iraq. But yeah, since the second Iraqi war in 2003, this problem has been increasing. And it's been increasing in Afghanistan as well since Al Qaeda was a thing. It's been happening in Palestine and Lebanon since the Israeli war with Hamas and Hezbollah. So we have that happening all the time. It keeps on spreading and spreading and spreading. Of course, it's going to reach the West. The war on terror is not something that George Bush came up with. No, it's been there since forever in the Arab world. So it's kind of funny for me to see how the West is reacting and trying to blame Muslims when Muslims have been mainly the ones suffering from the problem itself. It's like blaming the people who are fighting the problem for more than 20 years now and go like, yeah, it's you guys' fault. And, you know, it's kind of like, okay, I lost 3 friends in a terrorist attack back in Saudi Arabia. They're all Muslims. I mean, am I going to blame them for terrorism as well? I mean, there are victims of terrorism that are Muslim, and they're the vast majority of the victims as well. The refugees are all victims of terrorism because their entire country was taken away by terrorists, and now they're fleeing the country. Unfortunately, the way Europe is handling the problem is just having an open gate. Like, anyone who wants to come in, they can come in. And you know who followed them? The terrorists. So I can just imagine how, like, I can't even put myself in their shoes. Like, your entire city is destroyed. There's nothing to go back to when it comes to a home, and you're seeking refuge anywhere to have a life. And the next thing you know, the city that you immigrated to is being attacked by terrorists. So basically, it's the nightmares that you escaped are following you there because of lack of government control over the borders, because of the lack of a vetting process for refugees, because of the lack of prosecution of criminals. Like, the police over there are so afraid of arresting anyone who's brown because they're afraid of being called racist. So you have rampant crime happening in places like Germany and yeah, for a while, like it's been in the UK as well, when it comes to you know, rape victims and, you know, people just raising little kids and raising them and raping them as like 13-year-olds and stuff, and they're not getting arrested. Like, you have that with some Pakistani gangs, Muslim gangs. And it's kind of sad because, you know, the police don't want to touch them because they're Muslim. They're like, oh my God, people are going to call us racist. Well, guess what? You just apply that to any group of people. Let's just say I have like this group of people and go like, hey, you guys can commit any crime and no one's going to touch you. No one's going to arrest you. No matter what kind of people they are. If they're white, they're black, they're brown, they're atheist, they're Christian. I mean, no matter what kind of group they are. You know what they're going to do? They're going to start committing crimes because they can get away with it. And that's a failure of state. I'm not really putting the blame away or taking the blame away from the criminals themselves, but I blame mainly the state. That's a failure of the state of enforcing its own laws. So I think Brussels, even though I blame the terrorists themselves, I don't want to do victim blaming here, but I guess I am in a way because you failed to protect your own borders. You failed to vet the refugees coming in, and you're not making it easier for anyone because the families that fled the war and they fled the terrorist attacks and the constant bombing and the beheading of people. Guess what? The terrorists have followed them there. They haven't really gained anything now.
Yeah, I think that the reason everybody keeps being surprised with like each attack, because it does seem like with each and every single terrorist attack, and there's been a long list of them, people act shocked and surprised each time. I think it's because the media tries to do damage control, because people, go and blame the Muslim. They're like, oh, it's the Muslims, we need to get them out of the country, and we need to blah 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 blah. And then the media tries to do lots of damage control and they try to go, it's like, oh, there's not a problem, it's not a problem. And they try to brainwash people into thinking everything's okay, everything's all right, all brown people are good, all brown people are saints. It's the white people that's the problem. And then people get wrapped up in what the media tells them, because the media tells them this so consistently. That's why I think that people keep acting shocked and surprised with each terrorist attack, because I think the media keeps trying to do lots of damage control and try to shame people for having an opinion that deems that we should be tougher on crime to solve the problem.
It's not only that, like they're putting the blame on the critics of the situation. Like right now, we have two camps in the West, and they are the loudest ones. You have those who say, "Yeah, let's just ban all Muslims," Donald Trump supporters, for example, or go like, "Yeah, let's blame the entire Muslim community and let's just send them out of Europe because they don't belong there." And I don't agree with that. And you have the other camp, the left wingers and the apologists that go like, Islam has done nothing wrong. And that's just as dangerous because you know what? If you read the Quran and the Hadith, there are a lot of, I would say, problematic verses there that call for the genocide of the Jews, that call for the killing and mutilation of all non-believers. It's there. It exists. And it's that movement of fundamentalist Islam that takes the Quran quite literally and they just apply it in the real world. The vast majority of Muslims, yeah, they do believe in the Quran, but they understand that the concept of a holy war is only being called by your leader. It's not like, okay, if you have a leader of a country, for example, and that country is an Islamic country and they go like, hey, let's declare war against our neighbors, then yeah, it's your religious duty to go on that war and just fight along with it was a call of war, but in ancient times, and they kind of understand the concept of it, and they go like, yeah, it was a concept at the time, and let's just ignore it for now because we don't need it. The whole world can live along, we can just interact with each other in peace. Like the excuse that the Islamic conquering armies at the time had to the masses to even get them to take up arms to holy wars when they tried to conquer Rome and they conquered Persia at the time. They were like, yeah, we tried to spread Islam over there and people rejected us. When they start kicking missionaries out, that was their excuse. They're like, yeah, they're prosecuting our missionaries, so we're going to go there and install our missionaries by force. But right now, I don't think there's any country in the world that would kick Islamic missionaries out by force. So there is really no excuse for people to go and take on arms for a holy war in the historical sense. But even ISIS hates that fact. They just ignore it. They're like, yeah, holy war is just us killing all Jews and all Christians. So I don't know. Like Islam is one of those religions. When you open the scriptures and start reading them, it's it can be understood whatever way you want to understand it. The Quran is written in a brilliant way where it caters to your confirmation bias. So if you want it to be a hateful bigot, there's a lot of verses that are going to support that. And I think that's what they used for brainwashing the masses when it comes to ISIS. And it's quite successful. So no, Islam is not innocent in that. So I disagree with the left-wingers as well. We need a moderate kind of movement there. Yeah, we need to vet all the refugees before they come in, build refugee camps on the border. And yes, it's going to be a catastrophe because you're going to have to deal with millions of people at borders, but that's the best way to deal with it right now. We can't just let them all in, because if we let them all in, more and more attacks will happen. It's just eventual. And, you know, I would rather deal with camps that would last for years rather than lose another innocent life. But that's just me.
Yeah, there are lots of terrible things in the Quran, but the left, people on the left like to ignore. Like you could quote terrible things written in the Quran, and people will block you on Twitter for that. And I'm talking about like white people who live in the United States or white people who live in England. You can just swipe um type in Korean versus on sort of the meme stuff and the terrible stuff, and they'll just block you. They don't want to hear anything bad. They're like, Muslim, the Quran is great, the Quran is good, it's just another holy book, there's nothing wrong in it, you know, everything's the white man's fault anyway. White people are to blame if we're just only nice to them and, you know, give them an easy time, let them in our country and make it all easy for them, you know, and figure out what we're doing wrong and how we could achieve peace, then all of this would go away because they're actually our friends. You know, it's all that crazy nonsense.
Yeah, well, I'm okay with treating people nicely, but still control your border. I mean, if I wanted to move to the States right now, I would have to go through the immigration process. I would have to fill the forms. I would have to get a background check. I would have to go there and obtain a green card after living there for 3 months. And is it to 3 months or is it 1 year? I don't really know. But yeah, there is a process. My point is there is a long process and a lot of paperwork to fill. And that's not them being unfriendly to me. That's just the process of immigration. So, and immigration is quite like it's just the way it is. Now, when it comes to having a refugee crisis, then yeah, you need to expedite the process a little bit because you're dealing with thousands and sometimes even millions of people. Like Turkey has 2 million refugees right now. So the process, if there was one, would take years. It would take, you know, they would have to hire more staff. They would have to, you know, invent a process that would take like 3 days instead of like 3 months. But we are in an age, in a time and age where I think technology can help us a lot when it comes to doing a thorough background check in just a few days rather than months, and just get more staff on it. But just don't ignore the process, though. Right now, instead of like getting a process to expedite the whole vetting thing, they were like, well, it's just too many people. Let's just ignore the vetting process and let anyone in. And that's just calling for trouble. Because if any country is opening up their borders like that, then they're just inviting terrorists in. They're just inviting bad apples in. And eventually they'll get them in. And right now, even though like I keep telling, like I keep saying that, yeah, there's a failure of state when it comes to prevention of terrorist attacks in Europe, but no, that's a little bit disingenuous because there are a lot of failed attempts that were caught by the police. That's, you know, that are reported day in and day out. Now, even though I don't really trust the media 100%, it could be just they're making shit up. They're like, yeah, we're actually doing something on the ground. See, we've just foiled an attack here. That could be also the case. I don't really know. But the fact that they're foiling attempts here and there doesn't really negate the fact that it is still a failure of state, because you did let those bad apples in. And some of them, they're quite obvious. Some of them have Twitter accounts that, retweet ISIS bullshit. And they're seeking refuge in Europe. They're living in Germany, and they're still tweeting ISIS bullshit stuff and like, yeah, let's kill all heretics and stuff. And I'm like, I mean, if I could see the evidence right there on Twitter, so can't the authorities see the same thing? Like, that's the biggest failure I've ever seen in my life. Because there is no vetting process. They let anyone in. So yeah, they let the people who tweet ISIS bullshit in. At least check their phones. They'll see the tweets on their phones. That's the very least thing they could do.
Yeah. Anyway. So you live in the Middle East, is that correct? Or,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that in the Middle East, I heard that Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler, I heard that that's the favorites over there. Not sure if it's true or not.
You heard that it's what?
Favorites over there that many people love to read Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler.
I don't know if it's even available in most countries here. Let's
Oh,
see.
really?
Can I buy Mein Kampf in Dubai? I'm not really sure. Last time I checked the library, it wasn't there, but Mein Kampf Dubai. Can I buy it? Oh yeah, I can buy it here. But yeah, it truly isn't. Like, people, when it comes to the radical Muslims here, they still hate the Jews because of religion. Muslims should hate the Jews because Muhammad had a fight with the Jews at one point, and they don't even know the nuance of the whole story. No, Muhammad did not kick all the Jews out of Mecca and Medina. What he did, I'm not excusing what he did either, because what he did is like, there is a Jewish tribe or a Jewish clan in Medina that sided with his enemies at one of the battles, and he decided to execute all their men in one day. He's like, yeah, it's high treason, so I'm just gonna kill all of you. He spared the women and children, but all male men were just killed. And that was the beginning of the whole Muslims versus Jews thing. And it still lives until today, which is weird. I mean, if we had, let's say, okay, just less than 100 years ago, the Americans and the Germans were fighting one another all over Europe. And right now, they're just like, okay, that happened 2 generations ago, and right now we're okay, we're cool. Like, whatever war we had before is just gone. We don't have the purpose to keep fighting. But for some reason, the Muslims and the Jews are still holding a grudge of something that happened 1400 years ago, which is mind-boggling to me. Like, I really don't understand it. And that's why some of them look favorably to Hitler. They're like, yeah, he killed a lot of our enemies, and the enemy of our enemies is a friend.
Yeah,
But
that's what I heard. I heard that there are many Muslims who look favorably upon Hitler because Hitler killed like 6 million Jews. So I heard that Muslims love Adolf Hitler.
yeah, they do exist. I don't know if they're the majority or not. Like, at least when it comes to my friends, most of them understand that, yeah, Hitler was just a racist bigot, and it wasn't about them being Jews or anything. He was just a racist. I would say even a xenophobe and maybe a bigot about that. But yeah, at least my friends don't really like Hitler because I surround myself with more rational people that read the history of things. But yeah, again, we have a lot of people who are ignorant about history. We don't really learn anything about European history or even World War I or II in our history books in schools. We just learn about the history of Islam and the spread of Islam in the Arab world. So we weren't really concerned with World War II. So
Yeah,
people support him out of ignorance. And when you try to explain to them what Hitler actually did, most of them would be like, "Oh, well, I'm not for that because that's just crazy."
what I find surprising here in the West is how there are so many racist white Christians who hate the Jews. Well, they're still Christian, but they hate the Jews. And I never got that. I don't get it in the past how Christians could hate Jews in the past either, because the Bible itself, Jesus was a Jew. And throughout the Bible, Jews were referred to as God's chosen people. So it's like, I don't know what type of cognitive dissonance must be going on in their head to love the Bible, love Jesus, who's a Jew, but still hate the Jews. I don't really get that disconnect.
Yeah, well, they hate the Jews basically because they killed Jesus. They were the ones who crucified Jesus, and they're like, yeah, that's why they they hate the Jews. And again, it's basically hating someone who was born in the past 20, 30 years, sometimes even like a little bit more. But yeah, someone who was born in this generation of people for something that's happened 2,000 years ago. Why? Like, okay, if there's a Jew, like, there's no Jewish man alive or women alive right now who had anything to do with the crucifixion of Jesus. Why should we hate them? And it's the same thing with the Muslims. Like, there's no Jewish person alive now who is responsible for the coup that happened against Muhammad in Medina 1400 years ago. So why shall we hate them?
So, how did you become an atheist?
I used to question religion ever since I was pretty young, and like I remember the first time I started questioning a mullah was at a very, very young age. I was maybe 6 or 7, and that was when they were teaching us to fear God. And I was like, I know, I'm not afraid of God. I'm more afraid of the devil. And he's like, no, the devil has no power on you. You should fear God. But I was like, no, God gave me like all these cool things. I have my Nintendo at home. Gave me sweets and arms and legs and my glasses and all these kind of things. No, I can't hate God. And I can't, like, for me, like, fear equals hate. And so I couldn't hate God. And the mullah wasn't really happy with that. Then I think at my teenage years, I started questioning them even more when it comes to the concept of free will. Because once we started studying the Quran, then the story of creation is a little bit different in the Quran than in the Old Testament. The book of Genesis says that the first thing that God was created was light. Now, the Quran says the first creation of God was the pen. Created a pen and he commanded the pen to write, and the pen wrote everything that is, everything that will be, and everything that was. And it's still saved within God. It's like a tome. He called it Lawh al-Mahfud. And that tome tells the faith of every creation that God ever made. And that's all cool and stuff, but it kind of contradicts with the concept of free will. And I started looking around for an answer for the dilemma. Like, okay, if everything is saved in that tome, then how come God says that we have free will? And if we don't have free will, then why does he have the right to punish us or like give us like heaven or hell? Like, what the hell, man? That didn't make any sense to me. And I was quite a teenager at the time. And then I think I reached a point where I was quite agnostic. Like, I didn't really care for religion. I was just a Muslim by name until I tried bacon. I was like 21, 22 at the time, and I was ordering stuff from Wendy's. I was living in Canada at the time, and I ordered like pancakes in the morning. I was heading to the beach with friends. I was like, okay, just through the takeout window, ordered pancakes. And as soon as I drove off, I opened the little styrofoam packets, and it was bacon and eggs. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't eat bacon. And my friends were like, yeah, just try it for once. was like, fine. I tried it, and I was like, you know what? I'm an atheist now. Fuck Islam.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities between Christianity and Islam. Yeah, because there was questions like that in Christianity, like is everything predestined or do we have free will? I forgot what type of Christians they were, like if it was Calvin or something like that, because there was some type of Christians who believed in free will, and some of them believe in predestination, and I think that a Christian tale of Doctor the condemned history of Dr. Faustus involves something like that. Because I heard there was like different versions of Dr. Faustus. Have you heard of that tale play, Dr.
No,
Faustus?
actually, I have not. I'm not that versed with, like, I read the Bible a couple of times, but I don't really know much about Christianity other than that. I read the Old Testament, a couple of translations of the Old Testament, and I read the Bible, the New Bible twice, the King James Bible. I also read Dante's Inferno, or the entire Divine Comedy, which I consider a Bible fan fiction, and was way more interesting than the original Bible. Well, it kind of is. I mean, he went to hell and then to a purgatory and then to heaven, and he met God and the angels and Satan and all these kind of people. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really going to say that I'm well versed when it comes to Christianity. I just know the basics. I I busy myself when it comes to religion, just with Islam. Like I read the Quran every now and then, just to look up verses that support an argument or not, or trying to have a deeper understanding of the religion, even though I'm not religious. I don't know why I have that obsession, but I guess it's because of my past, and I'm trying to just rationalize it.
Excuse me.
Yeah, bless you. This is an atheist telling another atheist, bless you.
It's okay. I'm an atheist and I still say bless you. I'm an atheist and, I still celebrate Christmas.
Oh yeah, I celebrate Christmas too, even though I was never a Christian. Yeah, Christmas is when I get a turkey and just stuff the damn thing in my oven. It's a celebration.
Well, for me, I grew up in a fundamentalist Christian household, but I became an atheist at either age 9 or age 10 because, throughout my childhood, I had lots and lots of doubts. And I think that there's a good reason why I had lots of doubts. And that is because my church was very backwards in comparison to other churches. Like other churches are filled with pick and choose Christians where they select all the good stuff from the Bible and they pick all the stuff that they could follow. And our church was more, our church was like, I don't know, 400 years backwards. We were a very backwards church. You could say that we were a bit similar to Westboro Baptist Church,
Oh
like,
God.
huh?
Oh God, yeah, that'd be hell.
Yeah. So if you guys are familiar with Westboro Baptist Church, I'm talking to both of you in the audience, even though we have 0 viewers right now. My church was a lot like Westboro Baptist Church. We didn't hold signs and we didn't scream God hates fags, but it's kind of a lot like, women cannot wear women cannot wear pants, because if you are a woman and you wear pants, then you are denying your gender and you secretly wish to be a man. So women could only wear dresses and skirts. Women are not allowed to wear makeup, because if you're wearing makeup, you're being a deceiver and you're being a liar. And it's kind of like you cannot cuss or swear. um it's kind of like, it's there's all these rules. Halloween is the devil's birthday or the devil's holiday or whatever. um it's just a bunch of, like, you can only listen to the old gospel. You cannot listen to any non-Christian music. You can't even listen to classical music. It is only the old gospel. And it's kind of like my church was more backwards, than all the rest of the churches. So even though I live in a very religious state, there are Christians who like viewed me as odd, crazy, backwards. They were Christian too, but my church was very, very backwards. So I seemed a lot more odd. And there were just, I noticed head on that there were just so many contradictions in the Bible. Like, this verses would say one thing, and then another verse would say another thing that contradicts the other verse. And I spotted various contradictions and whatnot. And not only that, but the preacher we had, he was kind of like he was very much a con man. He was very, very, very much a con man. And I don't know how the adults missed it, but as a child, I could see it. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they just wanted to believe or whatever. But I just it's kind of like he would make false promises, something that screams cults, screams con artist, screams liar. Like he promised you, like, like if you use, like he promised his members, and this was back when I was a child. He promised members supernatural powers. He said that just for this one day, I'm going to raise your like right hand, and I'm going to give you powers through your right hand. As long as you use it for good, you put your right hands on somebody or something, and God will act through your right hand, and then a miracle will come. And it's kind of like, how is it that all the adults surrounding me are falling for these bullshits? And here I am, a child, and I am sensing something wrong and off about this.
Was this reinforced by your parents as well and your family?
My mother was very, very much a religious Bible black tyrant. My dad was, I never saw my dad. I mean, my mom and my dad got a divorce when I was 2 years old, and I saw him off and on. Like he would be in my life, then out of my life, mostly out, and mostly by his choice. He traveled here and there. He mostly stayed in Virginia.
Oh, okay. So where in the U.S. are you right now?
Hmm?
Where in the U.S. are you right now?
Oh, in Alabama?
Okay. I've never been to the U.S. I mean, I traveled the world, most of it anyway, but the U.S. is still on my list. I might spend like a whole month over there just traveling from one state to another. It's a big, big state, a big country to cover.
Yeah, I live in a very religious state, but not as religious as my mom, because like my mom, again, that church that she goes to is like 400 years backwards, while most Christians, they are pick and choosers. Like if you go to many other churches, because I church hopped for experiment because again I was an atheist at 9 or 10, but I wanted to get a feel for how other Christians were like, and I noticed that they just selected all the good pieces of the Bible, and they would ignore all the bad pieces, or or um the Episcopal Church, they're the preacher of the Episcopal Church. He was a practicing psychologist, and what he does is he reads like once one or a few scriptures, and then he starts talking about everyday life, and what things people could do to make their lives better. He's more philosophical, and he has all these different little stories, like either from his life or a story from a book or a friend's life. Because I think as a once practicing psychologist, he just wants to improve other people's lives and make people's lives better.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because even when it comes to moderate religion, I completely don't really agree with it. But there are various degrees, just like you explained here, with your original church and other churches. And it's the same thing when it comes to mullahs in their mosque. Like sometimes you get like a very moderate mullah that goes like, yeah, it's all about being peaceful and respecting all religions and respecting all people, and focusing on your relationship with your God. And that's the extent of your religion. It's just your relationship with your God, and just forget about what anyone else is doing. And on the other hand, we have people that promote people like ISIS, and they go like, yeah, let's kill anyone else who doesn't believe in the same shit that we believe in. And you have those who are in between. They're like, yeah, ISIS is okay, but just don't go ahead and kill people, but they're okay too. And we have all kind of degrees in Islam. Like, yeah, we have those who support ISIS, and we have those who demonize ISIS, and we have those that make excuses up for ISIS. They go like, yeah, it's okay. Oh, some of them are funny. Some of them like, well, we don't support ISIS as a terrorist group, but we support other terrorist groups like Hamas. Hamas are okay because they're killing Jews, but the other ones like, no, we're not okay with those.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing how Jews get hell everywhere. It's kind of like they get hell from the Arab world. They got hell from Adolf Hitler. They keep have the traveling from place to place. Then, I mean, even in America, there are people drawing swastikas to scare the Jews, and we have neo Nazis over here. It's kind of like Jews get to hell no matter where they go.
Okay, I'm sorry to cut this short, but I do have to go in 12 minutes. So is there anything you want to talk about, the last topic?
I can't really think of anything. We've just been having a conversation mostly.
Yeah, okay. All right. So what do you think of the Black Lives Matter movement over there?
It's crazy. I mean, it didn't start off crazy. Before it was about dealing with police brutality for unarmed people. So originally I was a part of Black Lives Matter, because it wasn't always crazy. It was something I could get behind. Police should stop killing, unarmed people. But then it became more and more radical, more crazed. And so I've been left. But it's really crazy now, very racist, very bigoted, and very nonsensical.
Yeah, I mean, when the news surfaced about the shootings of sometimes even kids, like, yeah, like little kids with toys, they're like, oh, we thought the toy was a gun, and they just shoot them down. And Yeah, I was a big supporter of that movement. I'm like, yeah, and then it kind of makes sense, and they had some reasonable demands. They wanted like all the police officers to wear cameras and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. Why not? But then more news surfaced about police killing white people as well, white unarmed people, and nobody talked about it at all. It seems like the Black Lives Matter movement lost their bets when they went against the All Lives Matter movement that's cropped out in social media, because I guess people from other races wanted to be included. Hispanics, white people, and whatever. They just all wanted to be included in their movement, but they wanted to be represented as well because, again, police brutality in general is not a race specific problem. Maybe because of the per capita statistics, you have more criminals cropping out in areas where black people live. So, yeah, by statistics alone, you have more black criminals. I'm not blaming the black race for being criminal. It's just statistics. But you don't focus the problem on just that. Like, imagine if the feminists would start a movement to combat rape, and they called it like they just focused on one race of rape victims. They're like, yeah, well, black female rape victims are suffering, so we should support them. And they ignored all the other, like the white women, the Hispanic women, and the Asian women who are being raped. Then they would lose that movement in no time. And right now they're losing their movement because they're focusing on only the female victims rather than the male victims. So yeah, it's kind of funny when it comes to the feminists because they're calling for inclusivity and yet they're failing the battle because they're not being inclusive enough. And I think that's a lesson to be learned with the Black Lives Matter movement as well. I think they started losing their grounds once they stopped being inclusive enough, and most rational people left them, and only the radicals stayed. And now you have people going like, yeah, the only thing I have to lose is my chains. And I'm like, what chains, man? I mean, especially the guy who was a son of a millionaire raising these signs and like, I'm gonna lose my chains. What chains? Fucking shut up.
Yeah, yeah, I was a part of Black Lives Matter. I would do the hashtag Black Lives Matter, but because it's kind of like cops should wear cameras and cops should stop shooting unarmed people. But it just got crazier, more radical, and then like you said, more white victims started showing up. Like I watched a video on Facebook where there was a white kid, and okay, he was being a smartass, but he didn't do anything wrong. He was just being smartass to the cop, and the cop beats him, and then he beat him to death. This white kid got beaten until he died, and Black Lives Matter was nowhere to be found. And like all these white victims started showing up, where it's kind of like the cop killing a white kid for smoking weed or something like that, or talking about weed on Twitter, and he just got shot by a cop and crazy stuff like that. And it's kind of, and I was thinking like, well, white people are suffering too, and that's important. But of course, Black Lives Matter doesn't care about that. And of course, if you're black and you think that they suck, they turn against you. So if you're black and you're like, oh, I don't like you, they would, attack you, because it's kind of like I've been attacked by the black radicals, I've been attacked by black radicals who don't like me because I don't believe that all white people are evil. So yeah.
So what do you guys think about Arabs? Do they think they're cool, or we're not black enough?
Uh, um. Again, I wasn't in Black Lives Matter for all that long. I left as soon as I started going radical. So.
Yeah, I know. It's here's the thing. Like, once you start a movement and you limit yourself by a single race, a single gender, or a single whatever, then you already kind of lost the fight. I mean, you're already starting with a false premise. Maybe like at the beginning, I can understand why they called it that, because again, it was started because there were a series of police brutalities and black victims to that lost their lives, and that's how the media caught it, and that's how everybody knew what it was. But then once we started seeing more and more evidence of the same thing happening to people of other races, then the All Lives Matter movement kind of cropped out. And they weren't really saying that, no, Black Lives Matter don't really matter. They were saying that all lives matter. And the way the radical Black Lives Matter movement reacted to that, they were like, just like the feminists going after the MRAs, going like, no, you're advocating for men's rights, you're not advocating for our rights, so you need to shut up. And that's why, unfortunately, when it comes to the feminists, they were the ones who won that fight. But when it comes to the Black Lives Matter, yeah, the All Lives Matter movement is nowhere to be seen, but the rational people just left. They were just like, people like you, people like me. We just left. We just don't care about that anymore. They keep going on and on about breaking their chains and about racism and stuff. And racism does exist. It exists all over the world, but you don't combat it by being an equally racist person against another race. And they keep going on and on about, white people can't be racist. That's just stupid. Anyone can be racist. And when you're looking at someone and judging them based on the color of their skin, guess what? You're a racist as well.
Yeah, I totally and completely agree with you. I totally agree with you.
So yeah, kids, don't be racist. I guess that's my closing statement.
Yeah, yeah, because I noticed that you have to leave about around this time, so I don't want to keep you too long. So if that's it, you don't have any more final words.
Well, my final words, if we want to just go back to the main topic, what the title of the video, even though we didn't really talk about that a lot, when the attacks on Brussels, I would say my message to most people who are not part of that attack, people who are going, on the left wing or the right wing, and the way they react to it, you're both not helping the problem. Glassing the Middle East is not going to help anyone. Demonizing all Muslims is not going to help anyone. Actually, if you demonize all Muslims, it's going to give more recording powers to the terrorists. So just stop that. Also, saying that Islam has done nothing wrong. No, you're wrong, because Islam has done a lot of things that are wrong. What I keep advocating for is the reform of the religion. What I keep calling for is looking into introducing a secular movement within the Islamic world. And that's not something so radical, by the way. It's something that's been happening in countries like Tunisia. It's been happening in countries like Lebanon. It's been happening in countries like Morocco. And they're all Islamic countries, and they have a secular kind of mindset over there. Funny thing is, it used to be a thing in Syria and Iraq. It used to be a thing in Iran. But Iran lost it after the revolution. Right now, they're not secular at all. Syria and Iraq, well, we all know what happened there with the war, and they were overturned by ISIS, the most radical movement we've ever seen in history. So, yes, we are facing this regressive movement and this regressive attacks from terrorist movements like ISIS. Instead of trying to demonize all Muslims, we need to help the rational ones. We need to help the secular ones to win their battle and to reform Islam, to make more countries like Tunisia and Morocco, instead of just destroying everything. And that's my final statement.
Well, with that, we'll end it here. Thank you for coming. I hope that if you want, you can come again my show anytime you want, if you want.
All right, I might have you on my show at one point if we have anything related to religion, Christianity, since you grew up in a Christian household, or a topic that I think that you could add to it. Like, yeah, why not? I haven't really planned a topic for this week, we might be talking about something technology related. So I'm not going to I'm not going to be talking about politics. I think we're going to be talking about the FBI versus Apple case, and the whole thing about privacy versus investigating a terrorist and what that entails. And we'll see. I mean, I don't know. Maybe next week I'll have a different topic I could invite you in.
Yeah, I like your channel. I like some of the topics I've seen you with Nick and Krauts, T and Krauts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like your hangouts, and I would be more than happy to come, So if you see a topic that you think I could inputs in, I will be glad to come.
All right. Well, I'll be looking forward to that.
All right.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. Bye. Bye,
Yeah.
everyone.
I'll see you later. Bye-bye.